What's up everybody, this is Blister with Less Than Epic coming at you with another classic WoW video. In today's video I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I've been getting asked on stream quite a bit, and that is what professions I'm going to be taking in classic WoW, and what professions should you guys take in classic WoW. Before we get into anything, I do want to just remind everybody how important it is to level up your professions with you while you're leveling. Especially if you're going to be playing on a gathering class profession. There's nothing more frustrating than blowing through an entire zone and not being able to level up your mining or your herbalism or your skinning, and then realizing that you go to the next zone and you can't collect any of those things because your skill is too low of a level compared to the stuff that's around you. What you want to make sure that you're doing is spend some extra time farming out some extra mobs, or farming a mine, or just going around collecting herbs, just to make sure that you can be above where you need to be before you move into the next zone, because there's nothing worse than going backwards and having to farm all these raw materials, especially when you're not getting any XP from the mobs that you're having to kill that are around you. The same can be said for crafting professions as well. You want to make sure that you're leveling those up with you, not only for the same reasons of having to go backwards and having to refarm old things, but also the fact that as you're leveling that up, it's going to help you as you're leveling, because you're going to be crafting gear that you can use while you're leveling. So it's very important that you actually make sure you maintain your professions as you're leveling, because it is going to help you, and it's also going to save you time in the long run. Now let's start simple. Let's start with, what am I going to be doing in Classic? I'm going to be starting with herbalism and skinning. Now the reason I chose skinning over mining is because you can't track mining nodes and herbs at the same time. And I plan on using herbalism at cap and not mining at cap. With herbalism, I'm going to be saving all of my herbs, sending them to banks accounts if I need to, so that way I can actually swap off of skinning once I get to cap and actually level up alchemy. Now I know I just talked about leveling up everything as you go, but I'm hoping that while I send all these raw materials to an alt or throw them in my bank, I won't have to worry about going back and farming much, if not anything at all. For the most part, most of the skinning that I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to be vendoring most of that just to help me with some cash income as I work towards my mounts for my level 40 and for my level 60. Once I get my level 60 mount, I'm going to be dropping it and picking up alchemy, like I said. Another reason why I'm keeping with alchemy and herbalism is so that way I can go and farm up my own swift thistle and fade leaves, so that way I can go and craft all my rogue requirement items, so I'm not going and constantly buying that stuff off of the auction house. It probably won't be too expensive, but I'm cheap and I don't want to have to go and actually buy that. I'd rather go farm it myself. So that leads us to, what professions should you guys choose while you're leveling up in Classic? Now, straight away, if you're going to be PvPing, I would highly suggest engineering and mining. Engineering is going to give you a lot of benefits for while you're PvPing. So you're going to be getting Gnomish Death Ray, the Thorium Grenades, the Gnomish Cloaking Device, the Goblin Rocket Boots, and that's just to name a couple of things that you're going to be able to get that's going to be beneficial for you. Mining is going to always be useful because you're going to have blacksmiths and engineering people looking for that on the auction house a lot, because there are a lot of people who don't want to go out and farm those raw materials. However, if you aren't going to go with PvP, I would suggest not looking at engineering that hard, because while it might be good at the beginning of Classic because the PvP systems aren't going to be in place yet, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be PvPing, so that means there's probably going to be a lot of people with engineering. And the more people with engineering, if you plan on trying to make money with your profession, you're not going to be able to do that well if you have engineering, because the competition is going to be very high. So let's take a look at another unique profession that is suitable for all classes regardless, and that is alchemy. Now, alchemy is usually the go-to profession for raiders, just like engineering is the go-to profession for PvP. You're going to be able to get all your flasks, all your potions, stuff like that, and it's going to be extremely beneficial for you and your raid members, and even your guild. They're going to love you if you can help provide those flasks for every raid. And obviously, if you're choosing alchemy, you're going to want to choose herbalism. And herbalism is just going to be great because not only is it going to be required for a lot of these the rare flask potions are going to require rare herbalism herbs. You're also going to be using some of those for your crafting professions too. So herbalism is just a very good profession to pick up in general. So what if you don't really care about getting the best PvP or the best PvE profession, and you just want to do something that's good for your class? Well, those are going to be pretty simple. If you're rolling a paladin or a warrior, you're going to want to pick up blacksmithing and mining, so that way you can craft your mail and plate gear and some weapons as you level up. If you're going to be playing a rogue, a shaman, a hunter, or a druid, you're going to want to pick up leatherworking, so that way you can make yourself some armor as you're leveling up. And if you're playing any of the clothies, the priest, the warlock, or the mage, you're going to want to make sure that you're going to be picking up tailoring, so that way you can craft cloth items while you're leveling up. The added bonus of tailoring is you can also craft a lot of bags that other people are going to want. I know that leatherworking also has a bag here and there, but for the most part, the best bags are going to be coming from tailoring. So you have that added bonus as well. You're going to be able to sell bags as you're leveling up, which could be a very good source of income, especially early on in Classic. The only exception to the rule for these three groups of professions is the rogue and potentially the shaman if you're going to be playing enhancement at endgame. And that's because you could decide to pick up mining and blacksmithing, so that way once you get high enough in blacksmithing, you can actually craft weapons. You can go into the weaponsmithing specialization. And if you end up doing that, you can craft a couple of potential upgrades as you're leveling up, but for the most part, it's not going to be very useful until you get to cap. And even then, you're more than likely going to be replacing those weapons once you get into a raid, or once you actually get a decent drop from a 5-man. So I would not suggest going down that route. If you're looking at leveling up something that's going to be useful for the majority of your leveling, do the blacksmithing on the mail and plate, and the leather on the mail and leather, you know, all those things that we talked about before. So all of that leaves us with one more profession, and that's enchanting. Enchanting works perfectly with tailoring because you craft your greens and then you just disenchant them. And you don't need a gathering profession to find the cloth. You just find them on most humanoids that you kill throughout the world. So it's the perfect situation. Now, the one downside of that is, even with farming a lot of cloth to level up your tailoring and then just dumping all of that straight into disenchanting for your enchanting, you're still going to be needing to do a lot of farming to get more greens and some blues in some situations to actually be able to level up your enchanting. Now, I'm not saying it's not worth it. Enchanting is definitely a very good way to make money, especially early on when there's not that many people at cap, especially if you can get ahead of the curve. You get ahead of the curve, you're going to be one of the couple of people on your server that people are going to be going out of their way to find you to get an enchant, because they know, hey, this guy's already at 300. He has a couple of these rare recipes that I need right now. So you're going to be able to make a really good amount of money with enchanting if you can get ahead of the curve. If you fall behind and you don't have the time to farm out the tailoring mats to be able to feed greens into enchanting, or just farm dungeons, 5-mans for those greens that you can disenchant, you're going to fall behind, and it's not going to be bad. It's just, it's not going to be as good of a money maker for somebody who can get ahead of the curve. Now, the one caveat to all of this is the wands that you can create with enchanting. The lower level wands are very, very, very good early game for anybody who can use a wand. So the warlocks, the priests, and the mages, those ones are very strong, and wanding is a big part of Classic. So having a super insane overpowered wand is going to be fantastic for while you're leveling up, and is a consideration for why you should take enchanting if you're going to be taking tailoring because you're rolling a clothy. Well, that's all I got for this one, you guys. I know that professions are really a give and take depending on what you want to do while you're leveling up, if you're not worried about them until endgame, which, please, do yourself a favor and level them up at the same time. But that's all I got. I hope this was informative for you guys. I hope you can make a decision based off of what we've talked about here. If you want to ask me some more questions, leave them down in the comments below or catch me out on the stream. We will be streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday starting around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you hop over to the stream and check us out. We'll be streaming on YouTube. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, it's Radit here. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel. We put out multiple new videos each week and we appreciate all of your support. Thanks for watching, everyone, and cheers.